Hey guys, Abby Keegan here, equine nutritionist with Nutrena. I'm excited to be here with you guys today. I've got a painted digestive system on my show mare. I had a local artist come and she did a wonderful job painting the digestive system. I thought that would be a great way to really illustrate and help you guys think about how things pass through and where nutrients are absorbed in your horse, and also where some key problems can take place. So key topic for today, unfortunately focuses on stress, but I think it's really important to talk about stress, how our horses handle it. We know that stress is probably one of the number one root causes of gastric ulcers, in this pink thing here, the horse's stomach, right? And so not only, can stress cause gastric ulcers, which we're familiar with, and we hear about buffering that stomach acid, which is really, really critical and important, but also other problems can occur as well. We can have leaky gut syndrome in these horses where pathogens actually can pass through the barrier of the intestine and get into the horse's bloodstream, causing problems. We can also have ulcers developing down here in the horse's large colon, which is really kind of tricky for veterinarians to diagnose. So there's a lot of other problems that can occur as well from horses experiencing stress. So what I want to talk about today is not so much training or management, and I think those are incredibly important pieces of helping a horse manage and cope with stress. But I want to talk about nutrition factors. So how do we feed horses? Are there things that we can provide to them to help them better, prepare their digestive system to manage and maybe mitigate stress? So let's take a quick little trip through the horse's digestive system. So obviously things are going to start up here at the horse's mouth. So as this mare's doing, she's chewing, right? She's using her teeth. Step number one, we've got to have great dentition in these horses, working with our equine veterinarian to have them examined and have their teeth floated every single year at least. So good dentition, we're chewing, we're producing saliva, which is Mother Nature's buffer for the acid that we're going to talk about that's produced in the stomach. We've got to chew in order to create saliva. Once that chewing takes place, we're creating saliva. We're then traveling the feed through the long esophagus. It's about 5 feet long into the horse's stomach. And the stomach is really made up of two different portions. So we've got the upper portion and the lower. And the lower mat is called the glandular mucosa. And so that mucosa actually is where the acid is secreted and produced, and it also has a mat basically there, which is going to help protect it from that really acidic content of the pH, the acid that it's producing. Whereas the top part of the horse's stomach is the non-glandular mucosa. So it's a different kind of lining or squamous mucosa, and it's more sensitive to that acid environment. It's not going to handle that really low pH. So it's really important to think about how we feed horses in terms of having them chew a lot to produce lots of saliva to buffer this acid that's being produced back here and protect particularly this top portion. So from the stomach, we're going to go into the horse's small intestine. The stomach dumps into the small intestine at the pyloric sphincter. And basically right after that, you get into the first part of the small intestine, which is the duodenum. The duodenum, interestingly enough, that beginning portion, actually the bile duct and the pancreatic duct both connect in there. And the bile duct's job is coming from the liver, secreting bile, which its job is to emulsify fat or break it down. In us, we have a gallbladder, which stores our bile. The horse does not have a gallbladder. The pancreas then is secreting enzymes, and so those enzymes, again, are helping to break down different nutrients, different foodstuffs. So the small intestine's role, it's quite long. It's 60 feet long. It's not very wide in diameter, but its real job is, again, to continue breaking things down, but really absorbing a lot of these nutrients. So you think about the fat the horse consumes, the protein is broken down into amino acids. Those are absorbed there. The different non-structural carbohydrates, and then some vitamins and minerals as well. From the small intestine then, and feed is really spending probably an hour and a half, maybe tops, coming into the stomach, the small intestine. From the small intestine, then we go into the massive hindgut. And so from a time perspective, you think about these two areas of the foregut to the hindgut, it's a massive difference. The hindgut feed is going to spend around 48 hours or more back there. The first part of the hindgut is actually the cecum, and it's noted here in green. However, it actually sits on the right-hand side of the horse, and it's pretty large. It's about 3 feet to 4 feet long. It holds 8 to 10 gallons, and it kind of sits in this lower area, but it's on the right-hand side of the horse. And it's really a blind pouch. It's that fermentation vat where really those microbes get everything going. So the horse has all these good bugs essentially in their gut, and their job is to break down all that fiber. So from the cecum, the feed is then going to travel into the large colon, and this thing twists and turns and changes diameter, and that's why we have a lot of horses that have problems colicking. There's just a lot going on back here, a lot of opportunity for things to get impacted, get stuck, and hence it's really, really important, again, to have these guys eating lots of meals throughout the day, consuming plenty of water, and certainly moving around as well. So in this large intestine, or large colon, excuse me, again, we're breaking down fiber. That's continued. We're also absorbing some of these things that are being produced. So that fiber is turned into volatile fatty acids, which are energy for the horse to use, probably the primary source of energy for most horses. We've also got those microbes, again, that we talked about working in the hindgut, that are producing some B vitamins and some other nutrients that are being digested or absorbed back here as well. Feed then flows into the horse's small colon, and really the main purpose of the small colon is water resorption. So absorbing all that leftover water and starting to form those fecal balls as we get into the rectum and out the other end. So just like people, horses are individuals, and everybody handles stress differently. I think of my mom. She's somebody who doesn't handle stress very well. You tell her that you're going to travel, for example, and she's going to get stressed. She's probably going to have some digestive upset quite a bit before she would have that traveling experience, which is kind of funny because I just heard a story from a friend about her mare. And her mare, she's got to haul her 7 minutes in the trailer to the veterinarian. And just 7 minutes, right? So it's not a physical stress. It's actually more of a psychological stress that's going on. But just that 7-minute trailer ride, just that experience of looking at the trailer and loading on the trailer is enough to kind of set this mare off and make her really nervous and uncomfortable. And certainly we can talk about things we can do from a management standpoint in terms of, training these horses and really practicing these stressful situations and teaching them how to better cope. But there's an awful lot we can do from the digestive system as well. And so much of this, if you think about how the horse's digestive system is connected to their brain, just like ours is as well, it's really important to think about how we're setting it up for success. So we're going to talk today, we're going to go through the horse's digestive system and talk about areas where some problems can arise. And we'll talk about Empower Digestive Balance, which is a brand new supplement that Nutrena has on the market, and how that product actually can help in different areas of the horse's digestive system, from the stomach to the horse's hindgut to just the general lining of that horse's digestive system, to better be able to absorb nutrients, to be stronger and resist those pathogens that come through as well. So let's talk about the digestive system, where some problems can pop up that are going to occur because of stress, and what we can maybe do about them from a nutritional standpoint to manage them. So number one problem that you guys are most familiar with probably is equine gastric ulcer syndrome. So we're talking about the stomach here, right? The gastric area. So as we talked, the stomach has two zones, basically. We've got the upper portion, which is the non-glandular or squamous mucosa that lines it. And we've got the lower portion of the stomach, which is the glandular mucosa. Now, the glandular mucosa secretes a lot of acid, and it's going to continuously do that throughout the day, no matter if there's feed in there or if there's not. So we've constantly got acid production. That acid production is a pH of around 1 to 3, so very, very acidic. When we think in terms of the horse's mouth, which she's doing what she should be doing, she's eating lots and lots of small meals. That's tip number one. Keep the feed moving through them and keep them chewing. When a horse chews, they create molar contact, which produces saliva. And saliva is Mother Nature's best buffering agent for the acid that's produced in the stomach. So by chewing, she's creating saliva. They can produce up to 10 to 15 gallons of saliva a day when they're chewing all the time, which is naturally going to buffer this constant acid secretion, which is about the same amount that the horses can produce in the stomach. The trick is, again, as I mentioned, they constantly produce it no matter what in their stomach. But if we do all day long, they're not producing the buffer. So there's this fine balance to kind of neutralize that acid. So one of the things that you can do is actually use a small hole hay net, just as this mare's doing. So what it does is it slows them down. It keeps them chewing throughout the day. We're not going to get them too fat because they're not going to eat too much. It's going to take them a while. So that's kind of tip number one, is to have some kind of small hole hay net in front of them so they can continuously be eating hay throughout the day. The other tip is you can utilize some alfalfa in the diet. Alfalfa is naturally high in calcium, and it will help to buffer the horse's stomach. We also can actually think about making sure that we feed them a good 30 minutes before we ride. And the reason for that is if you think about when the horse is being ridden, they're bouncing around a bit, right? And so this natural acid that would be down here is sloshing up into that top portion of the horse's stomach and can create gastric ulcers. This is the most common area where they can form. So again, by providing alfalfa in the diet, by having continuous chewing, those are all great things that we can do, making sure we've kind of got that mat of food in there if we're going to be exercising the horses, so there's something for that acid to work on. Another thing you can do is actually use a feed through buffer. So Empower Digestive Balance includes an ingredient called marine sourced calcium. So the marine sourced calcium has some research behind it where in a trial, it actually reduced gastric ulcers. So they brought down, they had 70% of them get back to a grade 0 in 30 days. So the marine sourced calcite that is in the Empower Digestive Balance, again, is in there to help the stomach. It's in there as a buffering agent. Another part of the horse's digestive system where we can see problems then beyond gastric ulcers is actually something called leaky gut syndrome. And so leaky gut syndrome can occur anywhere throughout the digestive tract. And what it is if you think about the lining of the horse's digestive tract, so the internal kind of mucosal area where those nutrients should be absorbed, that lining, again, should allow the good nutrients into the animal's bloodstream, but keep the pathogens out. So if you think about anything the horse eats, obviously this hay has not been sterilized. There's going to be some pathogens in it. There's going to be some things that horse has to be able to deal with. You think about anything the horse is going to touch or the dirt outside. So they're going to come across those natural pathogens. And normally they've got these tight junctions, which are going to be bound closely together, and they're not going to allow pathogens through. They only allow nutrients. But what can happen in horses is if that barrier between those epithelial cells of the lining of the digestive system actually break open or break apart, the tight junctions break apart, pathogens can actually get through. And so oftentimes, again, it might be due to stress. Heat stress is definitely something we look at in a lot of different research trials. But stress can cause that to occur, and those pathogens can get through. In the Empower Digestive Balance product that we brought to the market, we actually have included a specific ingredient to support leaky gut syndrome. So supporting those strengthening of the tight junctions, which really make for a really strong mucosal barrier throughout the entire digestive system. So we're not just talking about the stomach anymore, we're in the entire digestive system where other problems can arise. So what that butyric acid does is it's actually an energy source for those tight junctions. And the zinc that's actually encapsulated with the butyric acid, normally zinc would be digested and absorbed in the small intestine that we talked about. The zinc, because it's encapsulated, actually makes it to the horse's hindgut where it can be utilized to strengthen that tissue as well. Another reason we might use Empower Digestive Balance is simply to set our horse up for success. If you have a horse that you know is going to maybe encounter a stressful situation, maybe you're going to haul them to the show, maybe you are going to have a new horse enter the barn, Maybe you've got a new load of hay coming in, or you're going to have to switch hay constantly because you don't have a great supply for the year. All those reasons are great reasons where we would recommend putting a horse on Empower Digestive Balance as a daily supplement. Another situation where we might recommend Empower Digestive Balance as a supplement for your horse is if your veterinarian has diagnosed them with equine gastric ulcers. Empower Digestive Balance has a key functional ingredient designed to help with buffering that stomach acid, and it also will work on the rest of the digestive system as well. So the last of the key functional ingredients that we included in the new Empower Digestive Balance are the pre and probiotics. And these aren't just any pre and probiotic, they're actually a proven package combined together that we've used in numerous research trials to show improved digestibility. And improved digestibility is an indicator of overall better gut function. So that's really where they're designed to work. They also, when you talk about the horse's microbiome, so it's their unique population of bugs, I'm going to call them, that exist in their hindgut. The microbiome is unique to every horse, just like every human as well. We all have our different microbiome, and we know that they connect with, our gut connects with our brain as well. So the pre and probiotics are working to support the microbiome. The prebiotics are feeding the good bugs that exist in the microbiome and making them flourish. And we're also adding probiotics, which are encapsulated. They do survive the pelleting process and digestion and make it to the horse's hindgut, where we're helping add more of the good population of bugs to that individual horse's gut. I hope you've enjoyed our tour and trip through the horse's digestive system and discussion of talking about stress and how it impacts them. Please reach out to us with any questions you might have. Visit us on Facebook. You can go to nutrinaworld.com and go to contact us. You can visit toplinebalance.com and do a top line assessment of your horse that we can certainly talk about as well. So we appreciate you joining us, and have a great day.